The HD 7750 celebrated its 10th birthday this year. A decade has passed in which many things have changed in so many ways, and GPUs are no exception to the process of change for the past decade. By modern standards, this card falls behind in pretty much any aspect. But the question is, with all these lacking features, can it still run a few games here and there? And if not, what would be the purpose of buying such a GPU in 2022? Before we begin with some benchmarks, a quick reminder that due to the lack of proper DirectX 12 support, you will most likely have more modern games that won't even start up, as opposed to those that will actually run. But what exactly can run on this card when it comes to modern gaming? Well, Valorant runs exceptionally well, as seen by the framerate figures, offering a great experience. You could even turn up some of the settings, but in these competitive games, a higher frame rate is always favorable to a better visual quality. The remastered GTA trilogy will run fine, but only with the settings turned all the way down and 720p in terms of resolution. The game is perfectly playable this way, but the very reduced graphical settings don't really go in favor to the game's visual quality. Days Gone is a very demanding game, but on the 7750 surprisingly you can get a close to 30 FPS experience, although as expected with all the settings turned down. Regardless of that, if you really wanted to, you could have a good time killing some zombies on the HD 7750. This pretty much concludes the benchmark for all the modern games released in a year or so. Sure, you can play games like Rocket League or CSGO using the HD 7750. But since this would be the last time I benchmark this card, let's see how it does against titles from a time where this card was recommended for budget gamers. 2013's Tomb Raider runs on the high preset with the framerate mostly staying at around 40, and the visual quality of the game being excellent, but considering how well optimized Tomb Raider was, this wasn't a huge surprise. Far Cry 4 is a few levels above Tomb Raider when it comes to the requirements. Regardless of that, 1080p is achievable, but with the settings turned all the way down. Nevertheless, the game looks and runs great, but for a closer to 60 FPS experience, you should use 720p. To finish off the benchmarks with one of my favorite entries in the series, AC Rogue runs on the high preset with the 1080p resolution, so you could say perfect settings with pretty good visual quality and nice performance figures. In conclusion, the 7750 was a pretty fine card back in the day, and was something like the RX 550 or GT 1030 of the early 2010s. As for modern day performance, there isn't much left to be said. With more frequent usage of DirectX 12, these cards tend to lose their purpose over time. So for a casual esports gamer who plays Valorant or CSGO, this can be a pretty nice card, but nothing more than that, as it seems that it's finally done with gaming.